Yeah, they are outside the top 10 in payroll. They have reduced their payroll. They're top 5 in revenue. They're top 5 in franchise valuation.
The problem is, I think Tom Ricketts has sat through one too many Jerry Reinsdorf luncheons, symposiums, lectures. I think he sat through one too many of those.
You might be right.
Yeah. He's morphed into the forgotten Reinsdorf son.
Cubs have signed Justin Turner as some sort of option at third base. If the young kid doesn't work out, maybe they still feel like even at 40, there's a little pop left in the bat. And I wouldn't totally dismiss that, even though he's 40. I mean, Justin Turner still doesn't strike out a lot. He's still a pretty high on base guy. The last couple of years he's pushed into his late 30s. He's still been on base at like a 350 clip. So it might not be the worst thing in the world, especially if the young kid over there falters a little bit. But the real story continues to be how they were out on Alex Bregman when it was all said and done. I feel like, were you already out of town last week when that happened?
Yeah, I was gone.
You were already gone.
I read the news when I was there. Boston Red Sox 3-year deal.
Yeah, it happened right after you left, I think, right after we were done recapping the Super Bowl a week ago yesterday. And they missed out on Alex Bregman. And then I heard the other piece of breaking news I heard this morning from the guys was this news that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has basically said no deal has been done. He's going to play out this last year in Toronto or somewhere else, seeing as they might want to trade him and see what they can recoup for a player they're probably going to lose. Not that he ruled out going back there, but he sort of said, hey, now it's open to everybody. Now there's going to be 29 other teams, and I'm going to listen. And he said something to the effect when he was pushed about how close they were or weren't to a contract. He's like, it's not close. So they obviously...
He knows he's got to go if he's going to get a deal.
Probably. Vladdy Jr. is only going to play his age 26 season. He's one of those guys that came in and played pretty much real early on.
Right away.
20 years old.
Yep.
He's going to only be playing his age 26 season. He's in that Machado, Harper kind of... not 30 or 31-year-old free agent, but a 27-year-old free agent next year who has spent the majority of his career pretty much mashing and bashing. I know he got off to a tough start last year. His first couple months, it was a little bit slow. He only had 5 home runs his first 2 months last year, but he still finished with 30 on the season. He finished with the 544 slugging percentage. He finished with the 166 OPS last year. He doesn't strike out. He's like his old man. I mean, he didn't strike out 100 times last year. He's like not maybe quite as prolific as his dad was in terms of contact and power, but he's one of these guys who has displayed big power that doesn't strike out a ton. It's not 150 strikeouts or 200 strikeouts a year for Vladdy Jr. He doesn't have his dad's 10% strikeout rate, but that's more rare to have power and to never swing and miss like his dad did. And he played that all the way to a Hall of Fame career, but he's the kind of profile you're looking for. Balls in play a lot, hits for a lot of power, high on base, high slug, big OPS plus, and is going to get paid handsomely. I heard Cap and Hoodie talking about it on Shot or No Shot, the Capathetical. Do you go, if you're the Cubs, do you call now and pounce? And I guess in theory, it kind of makes sense, but how many guys are you going to acquire that you're just going to allow to walk at the end of the year? They're already doing it with Kyle Tucker. You already
know that's happening.
You're going to do it again? You're going to go out and get another guy and trade prospects? And prospects are, all right, well,
what
do people always say about them?
Yeah, prospects are suspects.
What happens if you lose those guys, though, and you have to lean into those suspects a little bit, and you need guys to play? What's the plan? How many? Cap was saying go get Bichette and Vlad Jr.
Both of them.
Trade Nico Horner, trade Shaw, trade Bush. I don't know that it would even get it done if you're going to get both those guys. And I would assume in that world, then you move Swanson to, well, maybe Bichette can play second, whatever. I mean, they'd have more elite defense on their middle infield. You really want to do that? If you're not going to have, if you have no intention of signing any of them long term, what would be the point of that?
What are you doing?
To take one stab at October?
And it doesn't seem like that's the MO, the modus operandi. I don't think it's ever been the modus operandi of the owner. Has it?
I think that's more the modus. Well, yeah, to spend long term. Yeah, you're right. I think more the modus operandi is we'll go ahead and we'll take them for the year, and then we'll figure out next year when it happens, but we're not paying any of them.
Right.
That seems to be the modus operandi of the owner now. And he continues to get beat up both here, locally, and nationally.
Right.
Buster Olney took him to the woodshed this morning on ESPN.
Yeah, I think he's to the point where he's gotten the championship, the one that he wanted, the one that he delivered to the Cubs after a long time. He ended whatever drought there was. And now we're in the mode of building and making capital improvements and making improvements to the grounds and making the money churning machine, building that up to the point where they're set and ready to rock. And at some point again down the line, when they recover all investments and they pay off all bills, then they might invest in your baseball team the way the Dodgers invest in their baseball team, the way the Yankees invest in their baseball team, the way others around the country invest in their baseball team, and not settle in the early teens where they like to be.
Yeah, they are outside the top 10 in payroll. They have reduced their payroll. They're top 5 in revenue. They're top 5 in franchise valuation.
The problem is I think Tom Ricketts has sat through one too many Jerry Reinsdorf symposiums, lectures. I think he sat through one too many of those.
You might be right.
Yeah.
Nick.
He's morphed into the forgotten Reinsdorf son, or the newly adopted Reinsdorf son, little Tommy Reinsdorf.
I don't know if anybody's going to pry Vlad away. I would think that it's very possible. Now, we'll talk more about it with Jesse when he joins us in about an hour. Would the Cubs go down that road? Maybe they do see they're looking into the future here and they see a work stoppage coming after 2 more seasons. And he's trying to get one more. And he'll trade whatever he has to trade. He'll rent a couple of guys to see. They should, for all intents and purposes, win this division going away. I know baseball's weird, but the Cubs really should win the Central this year going away. And I'm sorry to the Brewer fans. The one guy on Twitter who's from Milwaukee is probably already queuing up his tweets. They traded their closer. You got a 35-year-old Christian Yelich coming off back surgery. They lost their best offensive player. Willie Adames went to the coast, went to the Bay Area. Come on.
All they do is keep winning, though.
I know, but the Cubs
when they lost Corbin Burns, they were going to be crippled. They were not crippled.
Yeah, you're right. They certainly weren't a year ago. They kind of lapped the Cubs. I would think the Cubs win this division going away, and maybe he's just looking to get one more, and he sees a work stoppage coming, and with no clear future after that, isn't worried about long-term deals or anything in baseball happening after next season, and they would go all in for a player like Vlad who might walk at the end of the year the way they just did for Kyle Tucker, because it doesn't sound like they're too keen on signing Kyle Tucker long-term, even though he's another one of those somewhat younger free agents who came in young and is going to hit free agency before he turns 30. Cub fans, if you want to join us, you can at 312-332-3776. Do you think it'd be a good idea, or is enough enough? You've already done this once with Kyle Tucker. Would you want them trading more prospects to get a player that, in all likelihood, will walk at the end of the year? I was reading Buster Olney's article this morning. He just posted this not too long ago on ESPN.com, and he starts it by writing this year. Hurricane Milton wrecked the Tampa Bay Rays ballpark last fall, leaving them without a stadium. For this season, they'll play their home games in the Yankees spring training facility, which has a capacity of around 11,000 fans. And yet the Rays have outspent the Cubs in free agency this winter. I didn't even realize that. I guess because they just signed Ha-Seong Kim. I didn't even realize that. They signed him 10 days ago.
Right.
And so they've actually outspent the Cubs in free agency this year. Now, that I'm assuming that there is an investment the Cubs made because of the salary they're paying Kyle Tucker, but that's not free agency. That was a trade.
Right.
So a little clever accounting. Maybe. But Buster's point is
but
the Rays have outspent the Cubs in free agency.
But what's the number they agreed to? 17 and a half for Kyle Tucker?
Was it, guys? It was something like that.
It was very similar to that number.
It was about 17 and a half, I think, before they had to go to the ARB hearing.
So then
that's about right.
You take a look at total expenditures and what they did and see if there's a $17.5 million difference. Or is it that cute accounting that was taking place right there, the one that you talk about?
Yeah,
because that doesn't count as spending.
It doesn't count as a free agent spend, obviously, because they acquired the player and then settled pre-ARB with the player. Buster goes on to write, it says a lot more about the conduct of the big market Cubs than it does about the Rays. Last week, the Cubs were outbid by multiple teams for the services of all-star third baseman Alex Bregman. And the question that should hang over the franchise is why? Why aren't the Cubs spending more? Owner Tom Ricketts provided no answers last week when he briefly stopped by camp and told players it was a privilege to play for his organization and then left without speaking to reporters. I know you love that, Jurko. It's a privilege to play.
Yeah.
Tom Ricketts.
Yeah. Just imagine that goes over like a lead balloon over there.
Nothing about the Cubs' offer could give them a legitimate shot at landing a player who would have been a perfect fit. He's talking about Bregman here, Jurko.
Yeah.
The Tigers offered the most total dollars on the table. The Astros offered a chance for Bregman to continue his Houston legacy without being tapped for state taxes. The Red Sox deal offered the highest average annual salary with contractual flexibility. It was as if the Cubs wanted Bregman to play for less money and the privilege to be part of their organization.
Yeah.
Hard to see that being appealing, though, enough to convince someone like Bregman, who has played in the postseason every year of his career and aims to continue that tradition. Despite the fact that the Cubs are playing in baseball's land of opportunity, the incredibly weak NL Central, they've given no indication that winning is an actual priority. Making money seems to be the modus operandi. This is from Buster Olney.
That's what the Ricketts family does, right?
Yes.
They make money. What the old man, before he invested, what the old man say? How do I make money?
Tom told the old man, right? Is that what you're alluding to?
But he said, how do I make money? And then Tom told the old man.
It's always full.
It's always full. They don't even have to
everything
win.
around the park.
Yeah. They just come like sheep. And they do. And it's okay. When they won in 16, everybody was there, guys. Everybody was there. And now they've gone about the business of keeping the tap flowing just enough and just making fans think that there's just enough there that they can compete during the year and maybe get to the playoffs. And if that's enough, then fine. That's enough.
You know, there are a lot of inequities across baseball. This was a hot topic last week while you were gone, Jurk. And in the light of the Bregman thing and everything else and like this looming...
But Barstool Eddie?
Barstool Eddie was here last week.
Yeah, I said with Barstool Eddie, was this a hot topic?
With Eddie, and then with Shea one day, and then with Abdallah 2 days.
Club Shea.
It takes a village to I mean, when you're gone, it really takes...
No. Was it Club Shea?
Black was gone, you were gone. It took a village. It was a lot of hard work.
Well, this is the spring training of spring trading, is what this is. So, yeah, it does.
It took a village.
When everyone is sick
No
and
spring
or
trading.
on vacation.
No, I don't think we're doing spring trading.
Yeah.
But no, Abdallah and I talked about it. I don't think me and Eddie might not have as much because I don't think it had happened by last Tuesday. I feel like it was Wednesday or Thursday that it happened.
Right.
And look, I get it that there are some major problems on the table and that are looming for baseball and that there are some inequities. You have a built-in advantage when you're playing in this market. The guy that owns my favorite team has never accepted that responsibility as an owner. Really only spent on a big salary once just to stick it to the other owners.
Right, Albert Bell.
Yeah. I mean, think about how petty you have to be.
Because they didn't listen to Jerry.
Yes.
They didn't listen to Jerry.
So coming out of the... What was it, strike or a lockout?
93 or 94?
Yeah, 94. What was that?
I believe the term was a lockout.
That was a lockout? Or was
I believe
that
it was a lockout.
Strike? I can't even remember.
It was one of the two, Carmen.
But he basically said when the rest of the owners didn't go along with him, he's like, now I'll show you. And he signed Albert Bell to a ridiculous contract just to drive up the price of salaries, just to be petty.
Yeah.
It's the only time he's ever done it.
Just to be Jerry.
Yes, to be petty. It could be Jerry.
Yeah, just to be Jerry.
So he'll never do it. He'll never assume that responsibility. He'll never take advantage of that benefit. And whether it's right or wrong, if you hate the Dodgers, you hate the Mets, you hated the Yankees back in the day when George Steinbrenner was running it, or if you still hate them to this day, they're taking advantage of the rules, in a sense, of the inequities of baseball. Do you blame them? I know Dodger fans don't care, and they're like, too bad, so sad for the rest of you. If the Mets ever put it together and win another World Series, I think they'd say the same thing. Yankees fans and Yankee players have historically said the same thing. Why it doesn't happen here, I don't know. I know why it doesn't happen on the South Side. I'm resigned to that. I know my lot in life as a White Sox fan. I know where it is, while Jerry's the principal owner of the team and makes the decisions. I know what to expect. I know what not to expect. Why is it that Cub fans, with all of the different avenues and revenue streams that they have, all that's at their disposal, the advantages that they have, simply don't take advantage of it or simply don't care enough to really do what some of these other franchises have done? And they give you the Dodgers are basically telling you, F off.
Yeah, we don't care.
We don't care. Go cry about it to your mom.
Yes.
Go cry to your wife. Go cry to your sister.
They might care.
Go cry to your brother. Go cry somewhere else. The Dodgers are saying we don't care. Steve Cohen's saying the same thing. Go cry somewhere else.
Yeah. Tears in my eyes.
We don't care.
Develop your players, and we will take them when they turn 27 and 28.
And
we will take your players.
Will it someday be fixed? That's right. Jurko's right. Will it someday be fixed? Will it be more equitable? Will they truly make it possible for the Royals, for the Pirates, for the Reds, for the Rays? I really don't know. I don't know what 2027 and beyond looks like. I have no idea. But here and now, the Dodgers have basically told you, go cry somewhere else. We don't care. And why Tom Ricketts doesn't operate the same way, I don't know. He's too busy telling you that they can't compete with the Dodgers. Why?
By the way, the accounting on that is Bellinger leaves $25 million. You acquired the other player for $17.5, say it was.
I didn't even subtract.
You're still 70. You're still 7,500 savings, right?
Yeah.
$7,500,000. If you retain $2.5 million, it's $5 million that you ended up saving. There's your math. They got rid of an expensive player. They brought theoretically a better player over for less money. So your math is they saved money by bringing Kyle Tucker in.
And they spent a little bit on Boyd and here and there. And,
okay, but that's...
But the Rays have outspent them in free agency,
right.
and I didn't even think about, like,
there's your point. Yeah,
right.
You got to get rid of Bellinger, too. And remember, you ended up saving $7.5 million.
So, all right, Cub fans.
Fancy accounting.
Continue to be frustrated by this whole thing. There's more and more reporting now that everybody's in spring training about this looming work stoppage. I shouldn't looming. I mean, we still got 2 full seasons of baseball, but there's like Bob Nightingale wrote a real long article at USA Today about it. I want to read a few quotes from that because Tony Clark from the PA is making the rounds, presenting their side. And of course you expect that to be one-sided, just like you expect the leagues to be one-sided. But I want to read you a few quotes from there. He seems to directly take a shot at the Cubs in what he said to Nightingale. So I want to read that. Buster Olney, we were just reading you what he wrote this morning, kind of taking Ricketts to the woodshed. 312-332-3776 for Carmen and Jurko. We'll be